So yes, as Dill so kindly introduced me, I'm Jessie Genet, and I'm the CEO and founder of Lumi. And at Lumi, we have created a new way for people to print on fabric. And it's a DIY process. It allows anyone to print fabric at home using the power of the sun. So this is really magical because where you used to potentially need equipment or have to interact with gross chemicals, we have created a process that works very similar to photography but allows anyone to print on fabric using the sunlight in their own backyard. So am I doing this properly to get my presentation up? Okay. No worries, guys. This is a dramatic pause so that everyone can really soak in what I just said. I want you to be really prepared to come up. It's going to be great. So no worries. But yeah, this weekend at Maker Faire, we'll be in the Kickstarter Pavilion, so you can come by and see us there. We'll actually be doing live printing, and we're doing a demo and workshop in Maker Shed as well on Sunday. They're testing me right now. Okay. So we'll wait for that to come up. But what I called my talk here today is called Make Tools, Not Products. And the gist of what I wanted to share and what we're going to be walking through is that we've experienced a really healthy amount of success with our products, and now we make kits so that anyone can do our process at home. And we've kind of broke into some major retailers, and it'd be very easy for me to kind of stand up here today and tell you that that was my goal, that I had this incredible idea for a process, and we got it into major retailers, and it was just kind of onwards and upwards. But the real trajectory was that we actually, when I started working on the process and developing it, it was because I actually wanted to make products. So I had this idea as a 16-year-old to, oh, okay, there we are. It's a little stretched, but we're going to start with this, okay? Buffalo Bill, got to start early. So yeah, we're in a good spot. Okay, cool. So I'm taking you guys way back in history here. And the reason why I'm bringing up Buffalo Bill, how many of you are familiar with Buffalo Bill? I mean, you guys have probably heard the name. He actually has a really incredible story, and he wrote an amazing autobiography. Who knows exactly whether you can trust every single detail, but it is an amazing read, and I do really highly recommend it. The reason I'm taking you all the way back to Buffalo Bill is that when I was a teenager, I started reading incredible books like this, autobiographies and biographies of some incredible people. And I realized sort of a commonality with a lot of their stories. They got started very early. Buffalo Bill started his career as a scout and on the Pony Express as a 14-year-old. And at the time that I'm reading this stuff, I was 15 going on 16, and I sort of had what I might call like a very early midlife crisis. As a 15-year-old, I thought to myself, oh my gosh, like Buffalo Bill had a career at 14. Like, what am I doing with my life? You know, where is this going? You know, I was in high school, and I did 3 sports, I filled all my time with extracurriculars and honors classes, and, my parents were very happy with the progress, but I felt like I wasn't necessarily learning very much about the world. And when I read stories like this, it made me feel even more so that way. So at one point when I was 15, going on 16 still, I walked into both my parents, they were sitting in a room, and I announced to them that I was no longer going to do any sports, and a couple honors classes ended up falling to the wayside as well, because I was going to start a business. And they were like, what is this business? And at the time, I had no idea. My goal was, when I announced it to them, I had no idea. My goal was to do something that I felt would teach me a little bit more about how the world works. And if I started a business, I'd be able to interact with adults, I'd be able to kind of learn a little bit more about the dynamics of the world than I felt like I was in high school. There's an incredible quote up here by Buffalo Bill. He says, "Frontiersmen, good and bad, gunmen as well as inspired prophets of the future, have been my camp companions. Thus, I know the country of which I'm about to write, as few men now living have known it." That gives me goosebumps. I don't know about you guys, but the idea that this moment that you're living in and the people that you meet and interact with over your lifetime, you'll be the only ones to know it the way that you do. And when I read something like that, as a teenager, it made me want to go out and experience the world. And what I feel like we're all doing here and what brought us to a place today is a little bit of that feeling that we want to experience something that is in our own time and is magical. So continuing on with a little bit of his story, he joined the Pony Express at age 14, and the Pony Express is this incredible, exciting thing, but that shortened the transit time of mail across the country nearly 10 days at the time. But why he joined it was not because of his love for the Postal Service and people getting their mail on time, but a gold rush was on. And joining the Pony Express and literally having a means of transport across the country was his way of heading west. Now, I think that concept of a young person basically going out and searching for their gold, searching for their fortune and their future is also really exciting and was exciting to me as a teenager. So, but the question began with this love of history as a 15, 16-year-old in the 2000s with no gold rush on and kind of the inability to just leave home at age 14. My parents weren't probably going to be too into that. What could I do that was exciting? And again, I had this idea of starting a business. So at the beginning, I chose something that I felt was accomplishable. And I decided I'd start a t-shirt printing business, and I would use my own designs. I had a creative streak. I would use my own designs, my own drawings and photography, and I'd print them on shirts, and I would make the best t-shirt company there ever was, and that would be, my search for gold and my journey at the time. As I got into it, I started realizing that, my t-shirts were probably not the best t-shirts ever made by mankind, and that if I really wanted to do something more unique and more creative with my time, if I really wanted to achieve something, that I should explore the tools that I was using. So I started researching very in-depth printing techniques and printing technologies. As I'm sure you can imagine, the first things I found were screen printing, Iron-Ons. I became very frustrated with them early on because, first of all, they're expensive. I didn't have a lot of money as a teenager, and investing hundreds of dollars in screen printing equipment was an onerous thing to do for me. Additionally, Iron-On transfers don't yield professional-looking results, so I couldn't exactly establish, a multi-million-dollar t-shirt line off that. In my quest to research technologies more deeply, I was actually, at the same time, again, I'm still back in high school at this point, I was in a photography 101 class. And I would go into a dark room and turn on a light bulb, and light would burn, and make a magical kind of image for me on paper. Of course, we all know that's not magic, it's chemistry and science, and I'd be able to walk out of that room and look at my image in a matter of minutes. At the same time that I'm suffering at home with screen printing and Iron-Ons and all of that stuff. And it occurred to me, why can't this process of printing with chemistry and light, why can't we bring that to fabric? And so I set on a quest to do that, and it wasn't an easy one, and it took a really long time, but my thought at the time was, if I could develop a new process, a whole new print process, then I could make the best t-shirts ever. I could, build a brand and make something that people have never seen. And I ultimately ended up getting very close to that point. Now, I'm not saying I made the best t-shirts that mankind has ever seen, but I did get very close to, I actually developed the printing technology, developed the chemistry. It took several years and was quite an adventure in doing that lasted all the way from high school through into my college experience. In college, I studied industrial design, and I met my business partner, Stefan, and we were both studying industrial design. And, you know, in breaks between our homework, I showed him this process I had been tinkering with. I pulled this like weird chemistry equipment out of my like closet in my, you know, studio apartment, and I show him what I was doing. And he says, "This is incredible." And I say, "I know, I think that we could make really incredible products with this." We started a company based on that idea. Lumi, back in 2010, was a products company. We offered printing services, and we thought we had an incredible thing going because we essentially had a bit of a monopoly on a very cool process. Inco dye, which is what the actual dye is called that we created, it's like a photo emulsion but for fabric, and it's very permanent. So we could create looks on fabric that you know, our printing competitors, etc., couldn't. We were able to get furniture companies to partner with us to do entire furniture collections, and we were, you know, previously very broke college students, and all of a sudden people were paying us to do prints and make things for them, and that seemed like an incredible opportunity. And of course it was. And it sort of felt like we had reached a pinnacle. I mean, a designer's dream, in sometimes a certain sense, is to have something you control utterly, to have something that is intellectual property that you can have and can be yours. And then it was very tantalizing to, you know, be able to walk in, and we did this. We would walk in, especially, like, this is a company called Cisco Home Furniture in Los Angeles. They make incredible furniture. And to be able to walk into the meetings with them and show them the textiles we had designed and say with certainty, "You will not be able to get this from anyone else but us." That was really exciting as a young designer. And we ran the business and we made money for 2 years that way. But then there was sort of a little bit of a turning point internally. We had so much experience with this process, and we kept making the chemistry better, and this was all happening behind closed doors. It began feeling like we were not sharing the most exciting part of the product. Like, every time we had a new idea or, you know, a tweak on the chemistry and it did something better, we were just telling each other. It was Stefan and I just telling each other, and as much as we enjoyed each other's company, it felt as though we were also limited by our own creativity, limited by just the two of us. We could only print what him and I could dream up. And so we had a scary, at the time, but kind of bold concept for us that what if we do release this product more widely? What if we devote ourselves to seeing what other creatives can do with it? And we, in 2012, did a Kickstarter campaign to release our first Lumi kit. And we told the world, you know, this is our dream, this is what we've been doing with it, but we want to see what you can do with it. We want to see what you can create. And also, the technical challenges, technical and business challenges of doing this were not small. It was not a small undertaking. Just because we had successfully been doing the process internally in our own studio, scaling it to be able to put it in a box and give that same experience to potentially, you know, thousands and, you know, potentially more than that in the future people was daunting at first. But we decided that the Kickstarter campaign was a great place to start. We said that we needed $50,000 to reach our first goal and do the tooling for the first kit. In 30 days, we raised $268,000 from 3,525 people. It was an incredible experience, and it validated the idea for us that other people, yes, do want to try this and they do want to do it. And that gave us sort of the breath of fresh air and the wind behind our sails that we needed to really double down and make this a process for everyone. But again, kind of how I started, it was so easy for me to tell you that this was a massive success, and this is what I imagined as a teenager, and this is just all, you know, predestined. But in reality, this was a huge, scary decision to release it. Also, as I'm sure many people here in the audience can appreciate and understand, putting your hopes and dreams out onto the internet, onto a Kickstarter campaign, in and of itself is a daunting process, and especially asking people, would they like to try what you've been working on for many years? I'm now going to show you a video about how the process works so you can kind of bring it to life for you a little bit more. It's just 60 seconds, and then we'll go back. Just click on the main, just click on the big white space. Yeah. Is there music? There's no music, but you can imagine the amazing, vibrant music that's happening behind this presentation. So you can see that the ink dye comes out translucent, and then you smooth that printed full-scale negative down, leave it in the sun for 10 or 12 minutes, the color develops, you peel away your negative, you throw that in the wash. There's no chemical stop like there is in photography, you actually just wash it out, and then you have a permanent print. So everything you saw, there was no kind of like, movie magic in what you just saw. Those samples that I hung up at the end were the ones that I made on set. There was no time for making a second batch. So the process really is that easy, and you can make beautiful things with, with Lumi you can spend $20, $30. You don't need to spend $500 to get started making something beautiful. And the power of that, we'll give it a second. And the power of that and the ability to make something that is your own and that is unique, we learned was extremely addictive to people. Can we go to the next slide? Yes. One second, I'm going to go yell at those guys. We're back. Okay. Okay, so this is what I wanted to encourage everyone to think about for their own projects is that you're all pioneers in your own right, and all the projects that you're working on, the ultimate, you might believe right now, the ultimate expression is a product. But the processes that you develop along the way, and the kind of the brain energy and the knowledge bank that you build up creating your project might be a project in and of itself. It might have a tremendous amount of power. And I think where it gets very exciting is that it isn't just about opening it up and open source movement, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing, but it's also about the power that you can create in your business. You may not recognize this person, but this is Levi Strauss. And while Buffalo Bill was heading across the nation to go search for his fortune in gold, which he ended up getting very deterred and ended up having a different lifestyle, but while people were hoarding to California to search for their fortune in gold, Levi Strauss set up a store selling utility pants that we now call blue jeans and pickaxes and other tools that those miners needed. He made a fortune, and you can still go into Manhattan and visit his store to this day. And I think that there's something very powerful and enduring about creating the tools that people need and recognizing what you know that could be very useful to people in terms of the tools you can provide them. At this point, over 1 million prints have been made around the world using Ink-O-Dye, using that process that I just showed you. And we're in over 1,500 stores and have customers all over the world. One of the most exciting things to me is that now I get emails basically daily from people who are starting their own, printing concepts using our product and getting started for a very low amount of money. And I don't share this with you to brag, but I share it with you to bring home the concept that by releasing the tool and finding that within our project, we've created a much stronger business. So I really appreciate your time today, and I'm really excited to be at MakerCon. If you want to see the print process in real life, we'll be doing that all day long, both Saturday and Sunday at Maker Faire. Thank you so much.